Hello, lovely artists. This is a video designed to help you think about your year ahead, to strategize, to make plans, to take time to pause and reflect, to think about how you're going to get this better, how you're going to get that better, how you're going to learn from this last year. So I've put loads of information into one place. It's a one-stop shop, really. I've synthesized loads of conversations I've had with artists all over the world. It's a great privilege of my job that I'm just always hanging around, chatting with artists. And I want to be able to give all of this information to you in a really easy to digest way. This will hopefully be helpful if you're just starting out as an artist and you're thinking, right, okay, I've got this whole year ahead. What am I going to do with it? Or maybe you've been an artist for 10 years. Maybe you've got gallery representation. Maybe you're selling really well. Maybe nothing's selling. I think there should be something here for everybody and allow us all to come together and think about what it is to be an artist, how you can shape your time, and how you can get the most out of things. My first piece of advice is to be quite literal. Get the calendar out. Start mapping your year. You need to create your own opportunities within that year, but you also need to put in there very real and distinct deadlines of things you want to do. They're going to creep up on you otherwise. For example, the Royal Academy Summer Exhibition is an amazing opportunity for artists from all over the world. It's the largest and most respected, I think, most historic open call exhibition anywhere. It's a great thing to apply to. It's an even better thing to get into. And yet the deadline is already fast approaching. You've got to have your artwork in by the February the 11th. So you need to think about what artwork you want to submit. Get that deadline firm in your diary to make sure that you've got an opportunity to apply. Same thing goes for other things you might want to apply for, like Landscape Artist of the Year, Portrait Artist of the Year, being a wild card on Landscape Artist of the Year. These are programs that I'm part of, that I'm a judge on, and that anybody can apply to over the age of 16. And so I think having those things in the diary in advance, you can start thinking about what you want to submit. You can see it there looming large. Even putting time in the diary in advance to make sure that you've selected work or made work that's appropriate to the thing you want to apply to. There's so many websites that list loads of opportunities for the year ahead, including open call group exhibitions in your area or maybe artist residencies. So start having a look at those. I'll list some below and plot them in the calendar. The next thing to plot in the calendar is creating your own opportunities. So that might be having a studio sale. I'm a massive advocate of studio sales. I think they're a really important thing. I think it's a great tool that artists have at their disposal. You don't need a studio to have a studio sale, by the way. If you have an actual physical studio, lovely, have a physical studio sale. You'll probably sell more if you have it also online, by the way, such is the world that we live in now. But your studio might be the foot of your bed. It might be your garden shed. It might be your kitchen table. Guess what? That is totally normal. If you're keeping a track of your year and you're reflecting on the past year or being critical about the time that's passed, you'll start to hopefully understand the cadence of your year. And you might say, right, January is always a dead month for me. Everybody's broke, the weather's miserable, there's not much doing. And so what I'm going to do is every January prepare a studio sale. And I think a studio sale is such an important thing. It's such a brilliant weapon that an artist has to inject some activity, to hopefully inject some sales, and to get people looking at your work. Everybody loves a sale. You don't need to over justify or explain why you're having the sale. I don't need to know why that sofa's on discount. I just like the sofa more because it costs me less. Same's true of your art, guys. So you can just say, right, January is a quiet month, for example. I'm going to use it to take really good images, get my dimensions, get my mediums together, maybe even some little short videos of the artworks, and decide how much I'm prepared to discount. Usually 25% would be good, 30% even. You don't need to have too much work in the studio sale. You don't need to put on sale things that you've just made that you're really delighted with. This is more for material that you're just happy that you can kind of move it along, get it out there. And then there's a very fixed window. So you say, right, it's going to start on Friday at 6 p.m. and it's going to end Sunday at 8 p.m. And bear in mind that this is a really important moment because this is where people are going to start looking at your work. A lot of them aren't going to buy it. It takes a lot of eyeballs to get a sale to happen, as you all know. So the fact is people are going to be looking at your work. So you kind of need time to plan that studio sale, to get your house in order, so that when those people come to look at your work, they're seeing a great reflection of who you are, and you're communicating in a way that kind of corresponds to your practice. So get the studio sale in the diary, plot it in advance. You know, no one, you can move it. It's your own, you're the one putting it in the diary, but it gives you something to work towards. And it also allows you to see, did it work better this year when I did it in March as opposed to April, et cetera, et cetera. You can start to understand the cadence and how people are responding to the things that you're doing. And I think you can have 2 studio sales a year. I don't think there's any harm in that. And I love knowing that you're doing studio sales. I've been going on about them for years. You know, it might be just as simple as an Instagram story that's got 10 different works on it, but just put a bit of effort into it, make it nice. Whenever you're talking about your work, you're even if it's in a studio sale capacity, it's still a really important way of communicating something about you and who you are as an artist. So get it right. Give yourself time to plan it. And it's not just studio sales that we can be putting into the calendar. Another really important thing to do as an artist, particularly because you're self-employed, you're your own HR manager, you're the accountant, you're the cleaner, you make the tea, you buy the biscuits, you make the art as well. You've got an awful lot on your plate. It's really nice to give yourself permission to pause, to take stock, to create space, to think like, what kind of year did I just have? What did I do that got me really excited? Was there that thing that really got your mojo back? Or did you take an opportunity, try a new class, or go to a new meeting, or do that thing that got you really excited? Put that back in, try and like orchestrate it again so it might happen again. Give yourself time to think about what kind of artist you want to be, how you want your practice to move forward. If there's a kind of a big plunge that you need to take into the next level of your career, then that's going to be an awful lot easier if you can just give yourself time in the diary space to kind of critically reflect on where you are and where you want to be going. And so I think that's really important. Time just for you. It's almost like a kind of review that you're going to give yourself. It might just be like staring out of the window with a cup of coffee, but you've got it in your diary and it's like, today I'm just going to have a pause and a think. You don't have to make any work. You don't have to do any admin. You don't have to do any emails. You just need to sit and think about, okay, what kind of art am I making? Am I loving this? Am I happy with this? What else do I want to be doing? Like, give yourself that little bandwidth to like push against, see the corners of the envelope and decide like, right, am I where I want to be? And if I'm not, what can I be doing? What's working? What didn't work? Just pause and reflect and learn from where you are. The other thing that it's also really nice to plot into the calendar is just time to play, to be excited. This isn't about planning a studio sale. This isn't about pausing and reflecting and reviewing. This is just about playing and just having a laugh. So is it that you're going to have time in the diary to go and see some exhibitions? Are you a bit of a hermit? Do you find it difficult to get out and about? Put it in the diary, book your train in advance. Which exhibitions are on? What do you want to go and see? Or is there a museum or a gallery somewhere a bit small that you've never been to and everyone always talks about and you think, right, I probably should have gone to that place? Go and visit it. Maybe you can go with some artist friends. I really implore all artists to try and make friends with other artists. Other artists are not your enemies, they're your peers, they're your support group. Band together. You're all really unique and there's space for all of you. And I think there is such strength in numbers. I'm so excited when I see artists hanging about, coming to exhibitions together. You'll see the art in a totally different way if you see it with another artist. But regardless, get yourself out and about. Time to play and to think. Just go for no reason. Just go with an open mind. And you can also do that kind of activity from home. It might be that you set yourself a day where it's like, right, I'm just going to watch art movies today, or I'm going to read some art books, or I'm going to read some fiction set in the art world. To just kind of stir the imagination, do something outside of what you're already doing, do something for no reason, do some research for which seems to take you over there, because do you know what, it all comes back to benefit you. It's all going to come back to your practice. Give yourself permission, put it in the diary, plot it. You're your own boss. You need to give yourself these days to get excited, and to be reinvigorated by completely random things sometimes. And I think my final piece of advice is really to build your support network. What are you going to do this year to meet other artists? What are you going to do this year to meet people in the art world, to meet like-minded people? Sometimes artists feel really isolated, that they're on the outside looking in. That's completely natural. That happens to artists who are really respected and internationally recognized for some reason. There's something about that sort of feeling that everyone else has got something else going on. It's really, really prevalent in the art world. And I just want to reassure you and say that everybody could do with a bit more support. Everybody's feeling a bit isolated. Extend your services to somebody else. Tell someone else you like their work. That's really important. But are there other ways that you can kind of create a community for yourself, whether that's physically in your area? Maybe you can organize a small group exhibition in a public space. Like there's a little pavilion near where I live in Tooting, and there's a group there that organise art exhibitions all the time. The council were delighted they wanted to do it. I mean, it doesn't take much to find those kind of little spaces. It's so much easier to do it though if you can do it with a kind of your compadre, with people that are other artists to encourage you. It might be that it's just an online group. Maybe it's just a book club that you have about art that happens on the last Sunday of every month, and you set an art book for people to read. Maybe it's that you join the Facebook group for Portrait Artist of the Week. It's a Portrait Artist of the Week was a million years ago, it feels like now, thank goodness. It was during the pandemic where we had an online version of the programs that I make for Sky Arts, Portrait Artist of the Year. And we had like a kind of paint along basically, and there was a Facebook group that was completely unofficial that was created to run alongside it, and now it's got like 11,000 people post every day, they support one another, they talk to each other about their practices. It's a kind of an encouraging place to be. So maybe it's something as simple as just joining that for the first time, or creating your own Instagram or Facebook group which creates space for like-minded artists to come together. Take yourself out of your particular little bubble and share with other artists. And obviously, if you can, attend a class, go to a life drawing class, or attend an art festival. Like, think about ways that you can get outside of yourself. All of these things seem like procrastination or distraction, or just kind of maybe not the actual business of being an artist, but they are the business of being an artist. It's really important that you are finding people that are going to encourage and support you and keep you motivated. That's half the battle. It's half the battle. I love that Grayson Perry said once at the British Museum, he'd curated this big exhibition, and it was like a big fancy opening, and he was just so honest in his speech. He said, being an artist is like 20% inspiration and magic, and then the other 80% is just kind of finding the motivation to keep showing up, to kind of do the work, to put yourself out there. And it's really important to remember that it's not just about the work that you're making, it's about the world that you're building for yourself. So build that world, make it positive, make it full of light, make it full of really interesting people. I hope there are some things in here that have inspired you, that help you think about your year ahead. Comment below, give some other advice. Artists, you've always got amazing advice, and share it with one another. And good luck for the year ahead. I'm wishing you nothing but the best.